A little restart on today's show of Sports Back Talk with Boly Ringer, and we were mentioning just before, in our first take about the taxes that they're all done. We hope that you got yours done as well. And but we're going to talk Wild to start off with,
Sure.
and we were talking about the goal from Saturday night, the first goal that Dallas scored, and I watched it. Not live, not on Saturday night. I watched it sometime on Sunday, and SportsCenter had a big thing about it, and you know, they talked about Barry Melrose talked about whether there was a kicking motion, and pretty much the kicking motion. He said unless you're soccer kicking it, there's no more kicking that's bad. So I'm torn by it. I watched that replay probably a dozen times, and I can't tell if Dubnyk pushed the goal off, didn't push the goal off, whether it was across the net or whether it was across the goal line before the net came off. There was lots of stuff there. So you learned two new words, though.
Yes, I did. Incitement, which I've never heard of, and we'll get to that later. And then ambiguity, which is what Kerry Fraser used to describe the Wild debacle, I guess, with that goal. And ambiguity is basically something that lacks decisiveness. And Kerry Fraser's thought that there wasn't decisiveness in that goal, and that the net was off its moorings, but it wasn't out of the hole, okay, at first, okay?
Okay.
But he said the angle of the net, the way it was under Rule 63.6 or something he mentioned, that the net was forced in a position where it let the puck get through and into the situation where it was, which was between his left shoulder and the net. Here's the deal with the call, and where I have a big problem with it, and to be honest, the Wild can't win this series, so whether or not they won that game or that goal didn't counted, I think people were actually more mad at who scored it than how he scored. I think people were so fed up with Antoine Roussel that, and I told you last show, I said, this guy, people are going to hate him by game two.
I will say you hit it right on the head.
Yeah, and so what happened, first there was a kick in motion, and whether, you know, he kicked it on purpose, you know, nobody knows. He's not smart enough to even know if he did it on purpose.
Well, and in his defense, he's behind the net, so the thought that you're trying to kick it to score it seems out of the realm. So whether he kicked it or intentionally kicked it, to me, he absolutely intentionally kicked it, because I think he was trying to kick it to himself so that he could play the puck, and it just so happened it took a stupid, silly bounce and went up over the top of the net somehow.
Here's the issue I have, though. Okay, the kicking. The second part was whether it was in, okay? And third was the net off its moorings. Well, the biggest problem I have is if you watch the referee on that play, he was definite. No goal, no goal, no goal. That was not a goal. And how the NHL people done in Toronto, Canada, which took them 10 minutes, by the way, determined that there was 100%. It's like you're innocent until proven guilty.
Correct.
That's what this is. It has to be 100% sure that puck went in, okay, before the net came off. And everything I've seen, there's no way that they could rule 100%. And that's where I have the issue. I don't know where they got off on saying that goal was in. Again, it's not going to have any reflection on this series. Minnesota's not going to win this series, okay? But you blew the call. They've blown about 4 calls in the first week of the NHL playoffs.
So let me ask, and then let's go conspiracy theory here on this. Are they blowing the calls for the teams that are supposed to win, for the top seeds? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know the other calls, because I haven't watched enough playoff hockey over the last 4 or 5 days to know what plays you're talking about. But obviously that's the one that's in the forefront of my mind. And I agree with you 100%, Mike. Before we move on, I don't see how they could, after they waved it off, how they could have overruled that it was a goal. I just don't see it in the rule book. But
that's my only issue, was they couldn't prove it. And to be honest with you, I couldn't determine whether it was a goal or not. Okay, and I'm kind of biased towards the Wild. So
absolutely.
Again, I could easily say, listen, on Twitter, of course, everybody in Wildland said absolutely no goal, kicking. I didn't really see the kicking part of it, but getting back to the whole thing, it was a wrong call, and the reffing's been pretty sporadic. I mean, if you notice a couple other instances in that game where Spurgeon got a stick in the face, Granlund got a stick in the face, which drew blood. That should have been a 4. I mean, there could have been penalties all over against Dallas, and then they had less power plays in Dallas too. I just don't get where they.
But you warned me last week.
Yeah.
You warned me last week that this is playoff hockey. The game's going to be ref differently, and I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the radio this morning, but Torchetti after the game or yesterday said basically, we've got to come and be more physical. We've got to get more power plays. We've got to find a way to get the offense going, and it's going to start by being more physical and drawing those penalties. Well, if you're not going to get the penalties called that you already are drawing, what's the difference?
Yeah, talk's cheap. I mean, he shouldn't have to be saying that at this level of the game. It's up to the players. These players are paid a lot of money, and I got a list of some guys here, and we'll get on with the incitement here in a little bit, but the Wild has big issues. I'm going to mention, I didn't even mention names. I'm not that way. You know that. Huh. 12, 29, 19, 14, 9, 24, okay? You need to pick it up. This is the NHL. This isn't college. This isn't juniors. This isn't Finland. Okay, for the way you 6 guys have played, you do not deserve to wear an NHL jersey. Mikko Koivu has 2 goals in 30 some odd playoff games. He's your captain. He's your leader. That tells me right there's big issues in Minnesota land. Mikko Koivu will be gone after this year. I don't know how they're going to trade him, but whoever's general manager is going to do whatever they can to get rid of him because I think he's a big problem. 24, Dumba. The guys I'm mentioning, okay, I just don't notice them. And when I do, it's not good, okay? Pominville, I haven't noticed him in 2 games. He wears 29. I didn't notice him until 4 minutes left in the game on Sunday or Saturday. He got that stupid 2-minute hooking penalty where Dallas ended up with the puck for about 1:20 because the Wild couldn't get it. They played keep away. But Pominville, where are you? Number 12, okay? David Jones, okay? The drummer for the Monkees could play better than the way you're doing. I'm serious. What are you doing? If you're not out there doing something, why are you playing? Okay? I always look at it, find a role. If you don't know what your role is, go out and find one. Okay? Because every player, all 20 guys, has to have a function and a reason to be on this team and a reason to be on the ice. These 6 players don't have a identity. Okay? It's a lost identity with 12 is Jones, 29 Pominville, Stahl. Okay, he wins 52% of his face-offs, so we got to keep him in. Really? Okay? He caused the first goal the other night with a silly turnover in the neutral zone. Came back. He was the late guy coming in. He could have fallen the trailer. Instead, he reached for the guy. Trailer was the one that shot and scored. Again, Stahl's supposed to be Mr. Leadership, Mr. Consistency. He's been terrible. Okay? The other one is 14 Fonzie. I think he's much like a lot of the Wild. He just lacks confidence, and he did understand his role the last 2 years. This year, the guy is lost. He just doesn't do anything. He's out there skating around in circles, and I think Schrader would be a good move to put in the lineup tonight. I don't see it happening. They brought up Gabriel from the minors. He's the fighter. Okay. So there's supposed to be an intimidation factor there. And Stahl's out tonight, and Carter's out.
So do they win one of these 2 games on Monday or Wednesday? Neither one.
No. Series over.
Series is over, 4-0.
The way I see that, Ringer, I don't see anybody from this Wild lineup that can step up. This team's in a lot of trouble. Okay, the veterans that they signed to long-term deals, they got tons of money tied up. Okay, Vanek could finish the year on the injured list, okay, similar to Backstrom, similar to Heatley. You can't buy these guys out when they finish the year on the injured list. So Vanek, even if the Wild wanted to buy him out next year on his last year of his contract, they can't. Pominville, what are you going to do, buy 5 years out from him? I mean, you can't. It's going to be too expensive. Actually, it wouldn't be too bad. It costs him about $2.2 million a year for the next 5 years on the cap, which... yeah, it's money. It's like Mark Parrish when he retired or got cut. The Wild had him on the books for 2 more years. It's like there's some bad contracts being signed. The young guys are not developing. And I don't know if Tuck, Lucia, Gilmore, Greenway. These are the guys that are down in the minors. Delby's look good. I don't know if they drafted real well over the last 3 or 4 years. I look at Sweden. Okay, Chalmerson, Brodin, Yossi, and there's one more, Klingberg for Dallas. All 4 of these guys came up together. Chalmerson, Klingberg, Yossi, and Brodin. Okay? We got the bad deal on that. We got the 4th best one. Okay, and some of these guys went in the 2nd round. Roman Yossi, I mean, what a player he is. I mean, he's in Nashville and he's smacking guys around, and we got the soft one again. And we need some physicality back on that blue line. We don't have it. Spurgeon's playing well, and he's probably our most physical player. You know, and Granlund's played well, but he's getting beat up. So it's trouble in Minnesotaville, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens. And listen to my buddy Micheletti on KFan the other night. You see me getting a little excited here, okay? Micheletti was on the radio on KFan yelling on the radio. And it was about the same, almost the similar guys. It's just so uncanny that Micheletti's mentioning the same players I was and I am. And it's like, you know, you don't even really have to know the game to understand that there's pieces missing and there's players that aren't playing up to the way they should be.
Well, you mentioned Nashville. I'm going to get you off.
Get back to incitement here yet.
Yeah, we got to get back. Well, let's do incitement.
Incitement right now.
Let's do it right now.
That's what Carter got. Okay, incitement could be called all the time, and basically, what it is, it's something to do with doing something that's not right in front of the ref. So during a TV timeout, I guess the goalie, Lettinen, was over by the bench, and Carter purposely ran into him during the TV timeout, and the ref rung him up for 10 minutes. Well, if you guys ever notice after every play and every whistle in a defensive zone, how many times guys are getting hit after the whistle and all that, there could be incitement on every play. But Carter admitted to it, but it was kind of, when I first read it, incitement, I've never heard of, I don't even know if Mark Plowski, our old ref from the day, would even know what to say on a call like that. But incitement, first time ever.
First time ever for me as well.
Where you going, Nashville?
Let's talk Nashville. You also said last week, and I'm going to give you your props, I picked Anaheim. You told me watch out for Nashville. You might even pick Nashville, and now they're up 2-0. I assume you watched a little bit of it last night.
I watched a lot of it. It was actually, it was a pretty exciting game. I mean, Nashville's quick. They jump on the pucks, and they were the better team both nights, and both games were in Anaheim. And they got some players. They got the muckers. They got the guy. What their team? They don't care who does what. You know, they all go out and play. They don't worry about who's on the power play, who's killing penalties. They worry about who's going to win the game. And that's what their ambition is the whole game. They got a great coach, Peter Laviolette, who's no stranger to winning. Won a cup for the Carolina Hurricanes back when Matt Cullen and one of the Stalls were there, and they won a cup. And he was in Philadelphia, and they let him go because, the coaches are hired to be fired, and that's what happened. But they got a good coach, and I really like Nashville. Unfortunately for me, the TV cameras do not lie. I said Anaheim was going to make the Stanley Cup Finals, but their toughest matchup would be Nashville. So I kind of protect you a little bit. But I got Anaheim winning the Cup.
Well, I'll say it this way: Nashville going home ahead 2-0. Anaheim obviously was the #1 team out of the Pacific Division for a reason. So I mean, they're not dead in the water. I mean, they definitely can win 4 out of the last 5. I don't think you need to blow up your bracket quite yet.
Oh no, I mean, the teams sometimes play a little more relaxed on the road, and they're not worrying about trying to do too much in front of the fans. Sometimes that can be a problem. Your power play, especially if it's not working, the fans are going to get on you. And of course, the fans, they figure you're the #1 seed. You better beat this Nashville team, who's actually coming over from the Central Division. So I think it's good that Anaheim's getting away from home, and I would expect them to win the next game, and then we'll see where that series goes from there.
San Jose did the same thing, won 2 games on the road in LA over the first couple of games. Head home tonight for Game 3. Is it a done deal? San Jose is home or no?
If you remember right, 2 years ago, when two years ago, LA won the Cup. They were down 3-love to San Jose, first round.
Okay.
Same exact scenario. Remember Jonathan Quick came off the ice at game 3, they were down 3-love, and he was standing by the box as every player came off the ice, standing by where they go off the ice. And he was giving everyone a pump fist, every one of them. They lost that game. That team came back out the next 4 games and swept 4-3, went on to win the cup, and never count out Anze Kopitar, Drew Doughty, Jonathan Quick. They're all class players. I cannot say that about another team that we're trying to cheer for, but some good series.
How about Chicago St. Louis? What have you seen? I've watched about 18 seconds of that series, and I said last week would be the one that I would want to watch the most. I'm a little busy the last few days, but what have you seen out of Chicago and St. Louis?
I did watch a game yesterday. I was in Duluth, went to a local, wing place. I did get to one. Diana wanted to go to the mall, and I said, well, why don't you drop me off here? And it kind of worked out for both of us. And so I sat there and watched the Blackhawks St. Louis game, and it was very entertaining. Blackhawks had like 45, 46 shots, and Elliott, the University of Wisconsin goalie, basically won that game for St. Louis. Chicago had not lost in like 80 games when they've led going into the third period.
Wow.
So that's the first time that's happened in probably about 3-4 years. So I still think Chicago's the favorite to win that series. However, if St. Louis finds a way to win the next one, I think it's Katie by the door. I like both teams. It's unfortunate that one of them has to lose.
What have you seen in the East?
East, Islanders. Real impressed with the Islanders.
I watched part of that game last night when Florida went up 3-1. What was about halfway through the second period? I kind of when Bukestad scored, I kind of flipped the channel and I was kind of watching a little bit more of. I watched a little NBA. I was watching a little NHL. I had the Wings game on as well, so I was kind of multitasking with the one TV, kind of flipping back and forth, correcting papers. And so once it was 3-1, I figured it was a done deal. Florida was going to shut the door on them, but the Islanders come back, win in overtime. How about Pittsburgh? We talked about Pittsburgh maybe being one of the top teams there in the East. What have you seen?
I still like them. You know what happened? Dallas can say the same thing. You know, Dallas gets Sagan back. Well, now you change your lineup around and you change the missing. Dallas won handily. Pittsburgh won, I thought, handily against the Rangers. You bring back your superstars. Okay, you lose kind of those grinders, and then the team relies on Sagan and Malkin to do things, and well, neither of them did. And Dallas ended up winning, fortunately, but Pittsburgh not so much. So we'll see if Malkin gets more involved in the game. Do they play tonight or tomorrow night? I think tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, I think.
And we'll see if Pittsburgh's Malkin definitely has to play better than he did the first game. But I foresee some, at least 5 of the series will go full 7.
Wow.
Yeah, I predict it. Not the Wild. That won't go.
But not the Wild. You heard it here. Well, not first probably, because we've been I think a lot of people have been talking about, especially after they played in Game 1, which was just absolutely. Well, like I said, I didn't get to watch I watched the last 4 minutes of Saturday night's game, but I watched parts of Thursday night's game, and I really could not watch it. It was just that bad. It was just that bad.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you keep track of the days. It's so tough. But have a beef with the NHL. You sit there and watch these games, and you wonder why and how NHL and the NHL refs continue to let cross-checking slide by. Okay, I counted. Okay, I watched 5 games, some on tape yesterday. 5 games, 73 uncalled cross-checks. Okay, in all those games, and I know I missed them. And the ones I'm talking about is the reason Zach Parise is out. Okay. Zach Parise likes to play around the net, and he plays around the net, and he's feisty, and he's involved, and there's guys like Mark Stewart that I mentioned, Eric the Johnson kid from Bloomington who plays for the Avalanche, Roussel. I mean, you got a ton of these guys, and they're all pests. McLeod, they're all, in my opinion, Shea Weber's really bad too for Nashville. And what they do, Ringer, let's do a little demonstration, and. I brought my hockey stick here, although it isn't mine.
You're going to give it to me?
It's a left-handed. What's happening in the NHL, and they're letting these go, is the camera's a little low, but you ever see in the corners or in front of the net, the play's almost dead or it has become dead, and you always see players coming up behind and giving these shots out. And it continues all the time. And no refs ever call it. There was an example the other night when there was a delayed high stick, and the puck was standing there in front of Dumba, and he just said, go ahead and touch the puck, Dallas. Well, all of a sudden, Sharp comes over, bam, right in the back, right here, okay? Knocked him down, his face landed on the ice with the puck on his body. Okay, waiting for the call, ref said, face off outside. Because Dallas did the high stick. Again, no penalty. They continually let these calls go. 73 of them. Parisi can't play because he's been getting these shots in the back from Eric Johnson and Mark Stewart of Winnipeg, Minnesota guys. Okay?
So it seems to me, and now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but more than 5 years ago, we went through this whole trap thing, the defense, the interferences, the hookings, all this other stuff. And they cleaned it up to try to open up the game.
Have we opened up the game?
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. Has it opened up the game?
No, it's actually made it worse.
So what?
Because they're not calling those as much either.
So why? I'll ask me because I don't know where we want to go with this. Why are they not? Why are the referees not calling it? Is it because the NHL doesn't want all the stoppages in play, or because they need some feistiness, some reason to start fights? I don't know.
They're worried about that. I'm calling it. Fighting should be gone. Get it out of the game. Okay, and a lot of people say, well, Boly, we need it. It protects the players. It doesn't protect no players. Okay, back when Gretzky played, yeah, you could say Semenko protected him, but if you remember right, there was a Neil Sheehy rule. Okay, Neil Sheehy would bother the heck out of Wayne Gretzky. Okay, this is there's a book written on it, or at least a chapter in a book, okay, about Neil Sheehy pestering Wayne Gretzky. And Neil has always meant it. The reason I wore number 0 with Hartford is because I'm as far away from 99 as possible in talent level. And Neil admitted that. And he would just hound Gretzky and smack him and hit him and hook him and just give him shots. And Semenko would always go to Neil and try to fight him, and Neil wouldn't do it. McClellan, who's another guy for Edmonton, they all tried to fight Neil. And Neil, who could fight, but don't believe me, he could fight. But he knew what his job was, and that was to get Gretzky off his game, and he did a remarkable job, and I think Gretzky still hates him to this day.
Well, I'm going to give you a little story, because I don't know if I can even believe that I'm saying this, but my wife and I went to the NCAA hockey regional a couple weeks ago. I had somebody else go with me on Saturday. She came with me on Sunday, and we were just discussing it a couple of nights ago, and she said those games were boring. Mm-hmm. And I asked her why. She said, because there's no action, there's no fighting, there's no pushing, there's no whatever. So last night when we were watching the hockey game and there was no fighting going on, I said, well, you're watching this? There's no fighting going on. And she admits, when she goes watch a hockey game, she wants to see a little extracurricular, she wants to see a little pushing, shoving, whether it's at the high school level or the NHL level. And I'm just... I can't believe it's you saying that. And B, I agree with you. I think the fighting should be gone. I understand why some people think it saves it, but we don't have fighting in basketball or any of the other ones to protect people. So I think the referees have to do it. And of course, I just watched SportsCenter before we taped the show, and they're talking about LeBron, and they showed 3 plays from the game that he played against the Pistons, where literally his arm comes full out like this, where he's pushing the defender off, and he's pushing off, and there's no offensive fouls, and and of course you can say, well, they're the star player and they get the benefit of the doubt. Okay, fine, you can say that, but I mean this whole thing that we're going to call things differently or whatever. I don't know. It's this playoff mentality. Because it's the playoffs, we ref things differently. Yeah, I don't know if I buy all that.
The vast majority of the customers that pay the horrendous amount for their tickets want to see 85-90% of the customers go there because they want the rough stuff, they want the fights, they want the intimidation. Intimidation is very common in playoffs. Okay, like my brother mentioned to me, he says, Mike, the only issues I have with the NHL, and there's a lot of them for Gerald, is they reward thuggery. Okay, they let Granlund get beat up. They let Parise get beat up. Okay, you got Malkin out, Parise out. I mean, there's a lot of high-end players that aren't playing right now. Sagan, some are freak accidents, but the amount of shots that the high-end players take to their backs and their bodies is wearing in an 82-game season. And you got the McLeods, and you got the Hendricks from Edmonton, you got Roussel from Dallas. These guys continue to do what they do, even though the refs know the reason that they're on the ice is to come. And I'll get into the face-offs at another time, but there's issues there with the way people are taking face-offs now. Watching the NHL games, these players are going to their knees now. It's basically, in my opinion, interference, but we'll get to that in a different show. But anyways, that's NHL. I can't reach them. And I don't know if anybody can reach them. They're kind of a leave alone outfit. They sit in Toronto, and they don't want anybody to ask them questions. That's obvious. And I think the game's getting low marks, in my opinion, based on the referees and some of the things that are being called or not called.
You want to move on to the Twins?
Yeah, let's move real quickly to the Twins.
Twins 3-game winning streak as the time we taped this show, coming off a pretty exciting series against the Angels, and Oswaldo Arcia, I suppose, has to be considered the hero of the last 2 games. A home run, the game-winning home run, and then backed up by Park in Saturday's game, and then Sunday's game he comes up in the 12th inning and laces one down the left field line and gets the next run across. So I guess everybody's been saying the pitching's been good. We haven't been giving up 19 runs or 12 runs or 11 or whatever. So Trevor Plouffe started hitting the ball a little bit this weekend. Dozier's maybe working his way back around. Park had a few hits. I even see Sano score a run or two. So and Joe's almost leading the American League in batting average. So there's some life there. I mean, last week when we taped the show, we were ready to put the grave marker on them and everything else, and then they went on to lose 2 more and get it to 9 straight. But is this team? Los Angeles is not a bad team. That's why maybe I thought we could be 0-12 when we taped this show.
Well, what I like best is I think they came back in every one of those games, which was pretty impressive, and just says the manager hasn't given up on the players, and I think the players respected that, even though the press and the newspapers were kind of writing them off.
And the
fans were terrible. I was terrible to them. You were, of course, so you're always nice. So. It's I think Molitor deserves a lot of credit. Again, it's a funny game, and boy, if they go on another 9-game skid, though, I mean, holy man.
Well, I think that's right, and of course, Milwaukee, the 2-game series, and Milwaukee also not doing very well record-wise, so maybe the Twins can get it out here to get a bigger, longer streak going on. But again, I think even the bullpen was who I was probably down on the most last week. We find out Perkins is injured, and I know to me this is either A, manager, or B, the management of the team and the higher ups. If Perkins is hurt and he only pitched once basically, and we know he's hurt, coming out of spring training, why is he our closer? Is it because he's been our guy or whatever, but we know that he's hurting, so we're going to put him in there anyway, and we're going to let him lose a game? To me, somebody really dropped the ball, and maybe the number 1 guy is Glenn Perkins, not being honest about where he is at physically, because that's what got us into trouble last summer when he kept trying to come out after the All-Star break, and he knew he was in a bad way and he couldn't do the job, and we give him the chance to do the job, and I guess I feel as a fan, I need you as a hockey player, football player, I need you to be honest about whether you can or cannot go out and do the job. And if you can't do the job, then you need to get yourself healthy before you're going to get paid here regardless. So quit making us lose games.
Yeah, I mean, the red flag was there, his velocity. I mean, last year he was throwing 95, 96 miles an hour. He was down to 90, 91. this spring, and definite red flag signs right there. And of course, one game in, he's on the DL, and who knows? He could be spiraling downhill from here. Once a pitcher loses his arm strength and the velocity's gone, there's only so many Frank Tananas out there who can change their repertoire.
And he is left-handed, so he's got. I mean, he's got that trump card in his back pocket to play on that, because lefties can be so valuable. But I just wonder if he can ever be the closer again. And Jepson didn't do a great job in the 8th inning the first 2 times he came out. So you just wonder maybe if those roles wouldn't be better off being reversed a little bit. And I understand loyalty, and you want to be whatever, you can go to the Peyton Manning part of this and bring him back. And when, it's all these other things, I understand that. But at the same time, I think we need some transparency on whether you really can do the job or not. And I think that's the part that bugs me the most.
When I see Gardy, they brought him back today as head of player development or something, so he's back with the Twins program. And 2-2 this week with Milwaukee, Monday, Tuesday here, Wednesday, Thursday in Milwaukee. I wish they would listen to the fans on this. Why didn't they do a Thursday, Friday in Minnesota and a Saturday, Sunday in Milwaukee, so the weekends Milwaukee fans can come here for a couple, Minnesota fans head out there for a couple? That would have been some good fun entertainment, but Major League Baseball is not too concerned about what's happened in Milwaukee and Minnesota.
Oh, thank you. You hit it right in the head. I was just going to say, now if this was New York and Boston or whatever, definitely, we would make sure that those are on the weekend so ESPN can do that. There isn't a whole else.
No, I don't think we need to extend the show just because we have in the past. We don't have much to talk about. I want you to get to the Hall of Fame real quick, though.
I do want to make a mention about the local sports.
Sure.
Make sure you get out there. I know the Bronco baseball team played their only home game of April at home on Friday. They're on the road the rest of the month. They'll get some home games, trust me, in May. But get out and support the local teams. The Bronco softball team is 2-0. Played a couple, one AA team, one single A team. Not that matters a whole bunch. But a couple young pitchers on that team. Get out and watch the teams. I think that's a big deal. Little Fork has yet to get their seasons started. Hopefully tomorrow, Tuesday, they will get those underway. Hopefully the rain continues to hold off. The track teams have been doing very, very well, especially the girls. And of course the golf teams still biding their time waiting. Girls, today being Monday, we're supposed to be in in Virginia. But that match didn't, that meet did not go off. And you mentioned the Bronco Athletic Hall of Fame, very nice night. About 200 people just about there to enjoy the induction ceremony for Kevin Constantine, Brandy Griffith Airholtz, Mike Manassa, and Bob Rompre, and then the 1966 hockey team. And for me personally, it was good to see a lot of the guys that were on the 65 and 66 team. Of course, I'll get to see a lot of people in town that I don't always get to see. It was good to banter and get a chance to talk about the good old days. And
how many guys from the 66 team then?
There were actually 10 of the players there, along with 2 of the family members. Excuse me, I got that wrong. 11 and 2.
Okay.
So the only ones that were unable to make it was Peter Haig. 68 years old, playing in a hockey tournament in Florida.
Jeez.
Had made commitment months ago, could not get out of it. I'm going to forget Terry Sauchuk, is that I'm saying that right? I hope Sauchuk. Dan Malley, and
Malley wasn't there.
was not there.
Okay.
Your good friend Mike Peterson was not there, but his daughter Jennifer was there.
Oh, good for
of
her.
course, Dwayne Beaver Ernest passed away a couple of years ago, so his wife was there. Cool. And I'm missing one, and I apologize for right now. I've been through that list how many times I should be able to remember, but unfortunately it was the 3 guys from, John Matthews, the other guy from Alaska,
sure,
that could not make it. And my understanding is that they're hoping to all make it for the all-class reunion this August, so hopefully those guys will get back together. And again, it was an enjoyable weekend. All those guys, class people, top of the line guys, so I enjoyed the weekend very much. And thanks for everybody who came out and supported the Athletic Hall of Fame and everything we do. We appreciate you being there and being patient on Saturday night. The program got a little lengthy, but that's what you're there for, to do and to enjoy. Did you get everything off your list there?
Yeah, I basically had all these big words again that I've never heard of, but thanks for showing up and listening again this week. We're having fun doing this show. This week, of course, we had a little bit of technical difficulty with the camera, so we did not have the show out at our normal place out at Looney's Brew. We will be back there next Monday. Thanks to Barbie Borger, who let us use this facility here in Bacchus. It's pretty cool.
And don't forget the following show, this next Monday, the 25th, we will be at 6 o'clock at Looney's Brew. But the next show is going to be taped on Saturday night, which is April 30th.
Yep, April 30th.
Which will be at 6 o'clock. We'll be out at Looney's Brew. We'll have a special guest that night. And is that draft show, or is that the following week?
Next Monday is our draft show.
Next Monday is at
the draft. NFL draft is Thursday of next week. And,
Thursday the 28th.
Working on a couple of people right now to show up for the draft show. It will take about 40 minutes. We'll talk about the first 10 or 11 picks. Some interesting picks that we're going to look at are the quarterback situations where Goff and Wentz are both going to go, and Ezekiel Elliott out of Ohio State, is he going to be a top 10 pick? Does he land up in Philadelphia? We'll have the Vikings. Will we project them to take? Which receiver were they going to get at 24 or 23?
Get a receiver that's
There's going to be 4 of them they could have the pick from, so that'll be fun. And we'll try to project the second and third round picks for the Vikings as well. I mean, we'll see. I mean, if there's a big offensive tackle like Decker or somebody out of Ohio State sitting there at 24, the coach has kind of grown fond of having big offensive linemen with some mean streaks. And if that big kid out of Ohio State sitting there at 23, is that where they're
23?
They might pass on one of those big receivers, but there's some good wide receiver talent, good quarterbacks, and should be a fun time Monday next week.
Thanks everybody for watching. This has been Sports Back Talk with Boly and Ringer.